All right, so today I'm gonna do a taper, a skin taper. You notice his neck is a little longer, so I'm gonna make sure that I start the skin taper a little higher than normal. Give him a medium taper on his sideburns. Make sure the edges are nice and clean and dark. This is the kind of haircut that can hold you over for a couple weeks in between haircuts. Because his hair is already kind of short here, I'm gonna edge up around and create the framework first, and then I'll go in and do the taper, step by step. Using the edge of my blade, kind of like a pencil, be very precise, taking away any loose hairs around his natural edge. Same thing on this side. I'm looking for the thinnest part, which would be right here in the middle. Gonna come in here, just like a pencil, create a nice C motion through his sideburns and temple. Whenever you're edging up around the ear, make sure you fold the ear down like this. Don't try to go around the ear with your clipper. You could actually bump your clipper and mess up your line. So fold the ear down with your finger, pin it against the head, and use your fingers to support the T-outliner. Start at the highest point, and slowly work your way around the ear. First thing you're gonna look at when doing a taper on the back is how long the neck is. I also like to use the bottom of an ear as reference, and also where the occipital bone is as a reference of where my 1.5 should be. So I'm gonna start my skin right at the bottom of the ear, crossed, and make sure that where the hair gets darkest is just under the occipital bone. My first guide will be a bald guide or a skin guide. And because he had a haircut recently, and this is more of like in-between haircut, I don't need to go up with my 1.5 like I would with a fade, but instead today I'm gonna start with my 0.5 all the way open and really roll my wrist to blend into the hair that's already there. Alrighty, so we're gonna grab my Stylecraft Rebel. I'm gonna take my half guard all the way open. I'm gonna work my way backwards, close it all the way, go up again, a little shorter than half, halfway open. Basically fading into a number 1. Again, I'm keeping note that the occipital bone is right here. I don't want to fade too high into the occipital bone, but I don't want to be too low on the taper because his neck is longer. Alrighty, as you can see, there's still a little darkness around the bottom, so I'm gonna grab my number 1 clip, again, all the way open, and then work my way closed. Again, I'm gonna close halfway, listening for a crunch. Again, right here, a little darker, close it all the way. Now I'm gonna use a cornering technique and pick away at those dark spots. All right, now what we're gonna do is close our clipper all the way. And we're gonna start on this side, an inch away here, blend it into that side. Then we're gonna inch away here, blend it to that side, and turn them all the way to the other side. Same thing, that flat section all the way in. This is gonna help you stay focused and keep your taper organized.
When knocking out the zero, make sure that you guys are using short, quick motions and not too much pressure on the neck.
And now all I'm doing is kind of picking little areas that I feel like are too dark and just trying to lighten them up a touch. Could be shadows in the head, or it could be just hairs that grow closer together. No one has perfect hair, so you gotta have to pick and choose. All right, and lastly, I'll come in with my shaver. I'll be using the Absolute Double Foil shaver. I like this one a lot. As you notice, I'm using all Stylecraft because I feel like they're on the come up and they produce really, really good stuff. So I'm gonna go maybe pinky distance from where my balding was, just to allow myself some distance to blend that in. And then softly touch that in-between area. Now, if you want to go the extra mile here, you could always add a little color enhancement to the lighter areas. And this is just going to fill in the lighter areas of the edge up area, give it more fullness, especially if it's a little thin. And a little bit goes a long, long way. I feel like Bob Ross when I'm doing hair like this. Just a little dab. think of color as a slight enhancement and not the entire haircut. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is create the side taper, which I like skin medium. If this was a low taper, I would actually start just under here at this notch, keep it tight. So I always go high taper, medium taper, low taper. And again, this is gonna be preference, right? Everyone does something different. And I like to kind of give a slight curve. Just like a fade, I'm gonna start all the way open with no guard. And with tapers, you don't rest the entire blade onto the side of the head. You're only gonna use a little bit of the teeth. You want that transition to be as smooth as possible. So if you go in there flat, you're actually gonna take way too much hair off. If you were doing a high fade, I suppose you can get away with that. But in this particular instance, I wouldn't do that. Next step, take your half guard, put it on your clipper, open the lever all the way with your half guard, and you're gonna do the same exact thing, go a little higher and corner. You'll notice right here, because of the length of his sides of his head, the taper is almost already blended at the top. There's not a whole lot more to do here. Especially if you're good with the cornering technique, you want it to stay here all day long. Just close halfway, work our way slightly backwards. All right, here's my number one closed, and I'm just gonna corner this little piece here. See a couple dark areas towards the top. I wanna make this transition as smooth as possible. Cornering is like a barber's best friend. If you can learn how to corner with a clipper, you can do a lot of blending with a lot less clips. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is close my lever all the way down to 0, and then I'm just gonna, again, corner again at the very bottom where I started. Working my way back into the taper. Again, cornering is my friend. All right, let's move this hair out of the way. We're gonna put a little color enhancement on that edge. Okay, so with any color enhancement, again, I've said this multiple times in my career while teaching and educating, color enhancement will last 3 or 4 days as long as the client knows how to maintain it. So what I tell my clients is to baby that area. In other words, when you wash, shampoo, or anything, stay away from the areas with color enhancement if you want it to last the longest. So a lot of times in tapered areas or where hair grows a little thicker, I either come in and lighten that dark area a little bit, splitting those hairs so they're not so thick in certain areas, giving it a smoother overall look. You can also point cut into those areas like this with a thinning shear. All those techniques are really, really good. All right, next thing you want to do is freeze those loose hairs in place. Anytime you put color enhancement anywhere on an edge up, because color enhancement is a liquid, it's actually going to make the hair expand a little bit and move. So whenever you're putting any wetness or any kind of humid or moisture or any kind of wetness on the hair, you always got to realize it's going to move. So if it moves, I want to freeze it in place with a little liquid razor. And all this is going to do is act like almost like a hairspray for the hair and the skin. It's going to freeze everything in place so I can go back in and perfect it.
Yeah, one thing I do a lot is I walk away from haircuts.
And come back. Here's a little hack too. For those of you guys using color enhancement and you get a little bit too much color enhancement on the skin near the edge up, take a little aftershave or anything alcohol based and just spray it on your straight razor. And then you can go in there and clean it up, sharpen it up. And don't wait too long to do that because the color enhancement, depending on which kind, will dry rather quickly.
Using the razor on the edge up in the C-cup area, make sure you're pulling the skin away from the blade, carefully, gently removing tiny little hairs near the edge up. Again, same thing, make sure you're pulling the skin away from the blade as you work your way around here, down the neckline. These are very sensitive areas, so be very careful. You don't need too much pressure.
All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Same exact thing. So it's kind of funny, everyone's hair is different. I tapered his right side and it took me a little bit longer, but tapering his left side, I feel like it didn't take near as long. Like it just blended really, really quick. And sometimes it's just like that. One side blends better than the other. It's just nature. The top, we don't really have to fuck with the top, but this is the type of haircut you can get your client. So say your client had a haircut last week, they had a fade. You throw a taper to hold them over real quick. Great haircut to hold them over until they want to get a full cut, maybe in a week, 2 weeks, or a month later. So use this on, maybe in the shop, try it with someone that's open to it. If you're a new barber, give it a go. And tag me in your work on Instagram. Also guys, if you like this tutorial, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. James is good at that. He'd be flipping all kinds of shit.